Hey, I'm Damon Garcia, and I usually talk about spirituality and culture from a Christian left perspective. And lately I've been doing a lot of videos about leaving evangelicalism and leaving church. And today I want to talk about that feeling, that guilty feeling you get even after you've already left church. You still get that guilty feeling sometimes in certain situations. We're going to talk about what that feeling is and what to do about it and how to move forward. So, if you're already relating, trust me, I understand. I grew up in very conservative evangelicalism, left, and yes, plenty of times get that weird guilty feeling. You know what I'm talking about? It's like you feel like you've left this community that made you feel guilty for doing so many normal human things, and you feel like now you've found freedom. You don't have to worry about that anymore. You can just be yourself, do what you want. But then you maybe are watching a certain movie or talking to a certain type of person, becoming friends with a certain type of person that your old community wouldn't approve of, going to certain places, saying certain words, and you suddenly feel kind of guilty, or you feel this inner critical voice judging you from deep inside you. Now I'm part of a Christian community that is very progressive and open and affirming of all types of people with all types of perspectives and beliefs. And there's people in this group who've also come from a certain background who I've had conversations with about this feeling and how weird and interesting it is. It's like we're constantly having to remind ourselves, hey, it's okay, don't worry. For example, let me tell you this story. I grew up in an environment with the idea of the club. Christians don't go to the club. That's where sin can way too easily happen, and so we avoid that kind of thing. We don't go there. And I'm not really a party guy at all, and so that's always been fine for me to not go to clubs. But one day, a couple months ago, I was with a group of friends, and they had just finished this huge project, and they wanted to celebrate by going to this club in Santa Barbara. And I went with them because I was already hanging out with them. And when I was there, I saw a girl who was also a part of this new Christian community I'm a part of, who I hadn't talked to, but I knew who she was. And I suddenly had these weird feelings, and my first instinctual thoughts was, oh, she probably wishes I didn't see her right now at the club, because we're a part of this Christian community and we shouldn't be at this club. And so this is probably awkward for her that it's like I caught her here. And then I started thinking more about it and thought, no, this isn't awkward for her. She probably doesn't even care. And this isn't a weird situation. I'm the only one being weird here. It's completely fine that we're at the club right now. Come on. Now, this feeling is something that Bill Plotkin calls the loyal soldier in his book Soulcraft, but I actually read about it in Richard Rohr's book Falling Upward, and also read about it in Kent Dobson's book Bitten by a Camel, which Falling Upward and Bitten by a Camel are two amazing books for people who are going through these types of transitions and are looking for a healthier version of spirituality. But Bill Plotkin's definition of the loyal soldier is a courageous, wise, and stubborn sub-personality that formed during our childhood and created a variety of strategies to help us survive the realities of our family and culture. It keeps us safe by making us small or limited. So this is something actually most people experience, not just people in church, but I think it's a little bit on hyperdrive if you grew up on church. And this loyal soldier is ingrained within you by authority figures and then becomes an inner voice that guides you and is extremely necessary. This is just like basic construction and structure of growing up, of realizing, don't cross the street without looking both ways. Don't touch something if it's hot. Don't talk to strangers. Don't consume something if you know that you shouldn't consume it, or if you know that it's bad for you. This is just basic stuff that we all need to begin with as we're growing up. And Bill Plotkin gets this phrase of the loyal soldier by looking back at Japan after World War II. Japanese communities understood that many of these returning soldiers weren't ready to be integrated back into society, especially after spending years where their primary guiding identity was being this loyal soldier to their country, and their identity needed to be expanded in order to rejoin their communities. So the communities created this communal ritual where the soldier was thanked and praised by the whole community for his service. And after this was done at great length, an elder would stand up and announce with great authority something like, "The war is now over. The community needs you to let go of what has served you and served us well up to now. The community needs you to return as a man, a citizen, and something beyond a soldier." And like I said, the voice of our loyal soldier gets us through the beginning of our lives safely. Or as Richard Rohr puts it, helping us to learn the sacred no to ourselves that gives us dignity, identity, direction, significance, and boundaries. We have to learn these lessons in order to get off to a good start. And that's why it's actually common that it's really good for a person if they begin with a conservative worldview, because it gives you a very basic structural elementary understanding to jump off of as you grow in life. Without our loyal soldier, there would be even more people making even more self-destructive decisions, more addicts, more mental health problems, more people finding it so very difficult to get through life because they were never given a solid foundation early in life to grow from, which is what foundations are for, by the way. Let's make that super clear, to serve as a launching pad, not as a permanent home. But as we know, so many people don't get that launching pad when they're younger. So often we hear of people who make awful mistakes in life, and then we hear about how when they're younger, their parents mistreated them and didn't give them a solid foundation, and we think, oh, of course, because I think we all understand at a very deep level that we all need that. We all need that structure when we're younger. Even if we're bummed out about having strict parents when we're younger who are always lecturing us or trying to control us, we acknowledge that it actually is better than growing up with no structure at all. Especially when we see people, adults, who grew up with no structure at all. Now, a destructive thing that churches can do is convince young people that this inner loyal soldier voice that was cultivated through things like socialization and sometimes guilt tripping and even sermons is actually the voice of God. And since this inner critical voice gave you so much security and validation as you grew up, and you may have even grown up being taught about God as if the primary characteristic of God is judge, then it's really easy to believe that it's actually just the voice of God. Now, if you grew up in church and you're an atheist now, you can just kind of wrap things up here. Understand it's okay to let go of this loyal soldier. You're going to be okay. But if you're not an atheist and you're actually looking for more healthier ways of understanding the concept of the voice of God, let's look at the Bible. In the stories of the prophet Elijah, the voice of God is referred to as a still, small voice. And it's a voice that actually empowers Elijah when he's ready to just give up, not a voice that shames him or tells him to not take risks. The voice of God is always the voice that tries to give us power, not the voice that tries to take our power away. And it always calls us beyond ourselves, calling us to greater risks and challenges in order to grow. Think of this quote from St. Gregory of Nyssa in the 4th century when he said, "Sin is what happens when we refuse to keep growing." So good. The loyal soldier tries to hinder growth in order to keep you safe from risk, because growth always requires risk. So, we all need to let go of this loyal soldier. Acknowledge that it has served us well growing up. Thank it for keeping us safe from real danger. And then set it free. Because you're an adult now who needs to be a full human. And in order to be a full human, you need to embrace the strange and the new and the challenging in order to actually grow as a person. So I encourage you all to think of this deep inner critical voice within us that we're calling the loyal soldier, and say to it what these old Japanese communities said to their loyal soldiers: the war is now over. The community needs you to let go of what has served you and served us well up to now. The community needs you to return as an adult, a citizen, and something beyond a loyal soldier. Hope that helps. Check out some of my other videos. We're talking about some similar topics. And thank you for watching this one. I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.